everybody. Welcome back. Happy Skews Day to you. It's August 20th, 2024. I'm Trey. That's Mark. What's up, Mark?
No, buddy, doing pretty good. I lived through a real life vaudeville bit the other day. Did I tell you about this?
I don't think so. What happened?
I was in the barbershop getting my beard trimmed, and guy walks in. Bar, my barber's Mexican for reasons that will be important in a second.
Okay.
So the guy walks in and goes, and the barber goes, "Are you here for Juan?" And the guy goes, "It's 1:30 p.m." The guy goes, "No, for 2."
Yeah.
And
Right.
I can't move because he's trimming my beard. I'll start be like, wait, what's happening right now? The barber doesn't really. The barber understands. He did he thought. He goes, "Do you?" He goes, "No. Are you here for?" He's like, correctly understood. The guy didn't understand what he was asking, but didn't understand. He misunderstood that he said Juan.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy goes, "Oh, but are you with Juan?"
Mm-hmm.
And the guy goes, "No, with 2," pointing to him and his son. They both want haircuts.
Right, yeah.
And I'm sitting there being like, "Oh my God, my brain's gonna fucking explode if you guys go." They left. They still never figured it out. And when I could move,
left?
yeah,
because he went to another everything and left because he couldn't figure out this who's on first shit that was going on.
They didn't have an appointment. They couldn't take walk-ins, so he went to another barbershop. They figured that part out, but they had not communicated that, no, I mean Juan. They did not understand. Nobody knew that he was saying Juan. It was just like, anyway, just like, I love life.
It's always fun when stuff like that happens in real life, you know? Mm-hmm. It's a nice little treat.
Yeah. Stuff that exists in our universe we're talking about. So George Santos pled guilty to whatever is going on with him in federal court. But more importantly, he lost his lawsuit where he's trying to sue Jimmy Kimmel for showing cameos they paid him to make. Mm-hmm. Just like, no, this is fair. You made the cameos. They paid him. It's fair use. And he was like, nope, I'm going to appeal. Making fun of me is illegal.
Yeah.
And
he should know because his grandpa wrote all of the laws, as we all know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Just making fun of me should be illegal is kind of the driving force behind the American right now.
That's
and I just
true,
think
man.
It's absolutely fucking hilarious. So one last thing before we get to the show, I've been trying to figure out what the fuck is going on with Oklahoma's Secretary of Education or State Education guy, Ryan Walters, because I saw a video of him literally running away from the media, and I was like, wait, what the fuck is happening? He apparently is on the verge of getting impeached by the Republican state legislature because he won't tell them what he's doing with the money that he has. Like, he won't respond to information requests and stuff. And he basically is like, I double dog dare you to impeach me, so he's going to get impeached.
So this guy, he's a hardcore conservative, because you said he's the education secretary of Oklahoma, and they've had a bunch of bullshit with them, right? Like they hired old Libs of TikTok girl, and all that shit was going on. So this is this guy. So and this guy is going to be impeached by what I assume is the super majority far right Oklahoma State House. So you know it's bad, but you just can't fuck with the money. You can be as insane as you want to be, but you can't fuck with all their money. If you're gonna steal it, you gotta steal some for them too, or steal it with them or whatever. You can't steal it on your own and not tell them.
But all these MAGA guys, when they get put in positions of executive authority, apparently think they've been named dictator.
Right.
And so this legislator's like, well, you technically work for us, motherfucker. So he's withheld funding for the state legislator intended to go for physical school security enhancements and asthma inhalers. And these schools are in these legislators' districts. All right. So their beef, you talk about those of TikTok, that's our beef with him. Their beef with him is withholding money for that stuff. And there's also a federal report saying he's misused federal funds. He's also being sued for defamation by a school superintendent who's a former Marine who's buddies with all these legislators. He called the guy a fucking liar for talking about how he was handling money. So he's being sued by that guy. But yeah, our beefs, like I said, he pointed Chaya Rychak, lives a TikTok moron to the state school board or whatever. He also called the school system Epstein Island. Basically, all the children are being groomed. And in July, he mandated that every school district must teach the Bible and the Ten Commandments, which got immediate pushback from the Osage Nation, because Oklahoma has a large Native American population. So this went exactly how you thought it would. The first guy to get dinged for teaching the Bible, trying to teach the Christian creation myth to a bunch of Osage people who don't believe in Christianity, is the first guy is a guy named Eric Richter, who was a football coach at the school who had an emergency teaching certification in English that expired in June of this year. And prior to teaching in the school district, he ran for Tulsa County Sheriff, but was disqualified because he embezzled funds from Taco Bueno. All right.
Sure, but what's the football team's record, Mark?
That's the important
8-2,
thing.
9-1, something like that. Because if so, you know, what are you going to do? They always got to put the football coach, you know, teaching something in these small schools. It might as well be the Bible to Native Americans, I guess.
Right.
Well, yeah, no, he embezzled money from Taco Bueno. Is that what you said?
Right.
What is that? Like an Oklahoma Taco Bell? Deal?
Oh, they got them in Texas too. It's like it's like a chain of like fast food Mexican restaurants. Yeah. So he but like I dare say if the football team had a good record, they would not have made him teach the Bible, and he'd probably still be employed. But yeah, these are the kind of morons that everyone's up against trying to keep the country from falling apart. Is a guy who was too stupid to get away from embezzling from Taco Bueno, and couldn't get elected sheriff in Tulsa County, Oklahoma. So yeah, that's what's going on out there in America right now.
Okay, in Oklahoma, or maybe not. Anyway, let's get into it. Producer Matt is with us, doing his thing. This is Weekly Skews. Before we continue, I want to remind y'all of a few things. Come see me live, please, on the road, doing stand-up comedy in person. Go to TreyCrowder.com. Check out my upcoming tour dates. This weekend, I'm going through the Midwest, Des Moines, Kansas City, and Omaha. And then after that, I'll be in San Antonio for a weekend. I got to update that graphic for y'all because there's a whole bunch more dates coming up after that. TreyCrowder.com. Also there, you can find a link to me and Corey's book, Round Here and Over Yonder. It's very funny. It's actually, this is about to be on sale on a big Barnes & Noble online sale they're doing. It's going to be half off as part of their big promotional thing, which I should have remembered the details better. But anyway, be on the lookout for that. All right, if you enjoyed this program and would like to show your support, you can do so by signing up on Patreon. Go to weeklyskews.com/more or just go to Patreon and search for my name. Either way works. $5 a month. You get access to 2 full-length bonus episodes per month. Cover things that happen in between, things we don't get to in the main show, just stuff we want to talk about. It's a lot of fun. Get some more Skews in your life. Support the show in the process. As for tonight's episode, we'll be catching y'all up on the latest criticisms being hurled at the Harris-Walz campaign, both from within and without. And never believe this. Some of them are pretty silly. It's going to be fun as the DNC rages on in Chicago. We'll try to get caught up. But first, the Daily Dumbass. Matt, graphic, please. Tonight's DD, men who don't spend every moment contemplating the mandates that come with menstrual cycles. This is our boy, JD Vance.
And you can sort of see the effect it has on him to be around them. Like, they spoil him. There's sort of all the classic stuff that grandparents do to grandchildren. But it makes him a much better human being to have exposure to his grandparents.
Well, I don't know.
And the evidence on this, by the way, is like super clear.
That's the whole purpose of the postmenopausal
Yes.
female in theory. Did your in-laws...
All right, you could. So, JD's just like the fact he gave that guy no pushback right there. Like JD's just like a generational talent being fucking bizarre. He takes like a boring observation like grandparents are cool to have around,
right?
And it turned into a conversation about how like just you run it through your internet brain filter and it comes out like yes, postmenopausal females do have a use.
Right. Yeah. What else you gonna do with old ladies? But let them raise the grandkids. They can't bake pies all the time. You know, they need something else to do. Yeah. And then later on, this same dude, this podcast host, whoever it is, he's talking to. Also, he talks about JD says that his mother. He's married to an Indian woman. His mother-in-law lived with him for a year when their kid was born. And the host goes, "Yeah, you know, that's a weird, unadvertised perk of marrying an Indian woman." And he's just like, yeah, it's pretty cool. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's just all it's just a weird way to talk about
his mother-in-law, by the way, is a provost at UC San Diego. She's not some you know,
babushka or whatever you call it.
Yes. Yeah. That's a Russian grandmother, right?
I know. I don't know what I just meant.
Yeah.
That just sounds very mama-y to me. I guess I could have just said
yes.
mama. She's Indian mama, whatever. Anyway.
She's not some like wilting flower is my point. Like she's like a career woman who like is like would probably like EJ. I would love to put her in a lie detector and ask her about her son-in-law. But so these guys really should not be even aware of evolutionary biology. There's a really interesting question about like why human beings live so long and like the utility of grandparents, because like other animal species don't have grandparents, but human children require so many resources to raise. It's really sort of, it takes a village argument about how we should make child rearing easier, since like families are more disconnected. People like, anyway, the point is, his realization should be like, we should make childcare easier in America. That should be the conclusion, not it should be illegal for women to stop having periods or whatever dumb bullshit they're going on about there.
Right.
So JD's past goings on keep bubbling to the surface. That podcast interview was a couple years ago. He had another one come up that went viral last week about how he talked about like how America deals with immigrants and how like past waves of Italian, Irish, and German immigrants resulted in higher crime rates in ethnic enclaves. And he was asked about it, and he said, "Hasn't anyone seen the movie Gangs of New York?"
Yeah.
Which is, an insane thing to say because that's essentially the same argument the villain in Bill the Butcher made.
He's ignoring all the great pizza places and stuff that came from that too. You know, a lot of good sausage, a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Not just crime from the Italians. You know,
he was also
contributed.
At like giving that event was at like a police benevolent association that endorsed like the Milwaukee police that endorsed like Trump Vance. So he's talking about the perils of Irish immigrants to cops. It's just deeply fucking funny. But that same interview, I'm not sure if this like got missed, but the guy he was doing the podcast with, his name is Jack Murphy. Under an old pseudonym, he'd written a blog post that he said, quote, "Behind even the most ardent feminist facade is a deep desire to be dominated and even degraded, and that, quote, rape is the best therapy for the problem. Feminists need rape." All right.
That's Don't cut yourself on that edge, buddy. That's some hardcore edgelord shit right there. Also, he probably just really wants to rape. He might even be doing it. Who knows?
Right. And I don't like the upside or downsides of the weird framing or like whatever. But there's just so much of this shit you can't quite get to. I just think leaving it out there as a hanging curveball for whenever anybody stumbles across this to have a mental framework to absorb how deeply fucking just out there these morons are and what their beliefs are is worth trying to get people to understand, even if I know they got jobs. They're not on the internet like I am, know what these people are up to. But it's pretty maddening that everybody walks around all day not knowing these psychos are all around them. It's just sort of weird. Yeah.
Our first honorable mention for Daily Dumbass is Tim Walz' wife for making her bridesmaids unwitting communist agents. Listen to this.
She's a radical leftist. She chose another radical leftist. They're just assuming, again, that the mainstream media is not going to cover his background. The House is going to investigate it now. It's very strange. He got married on the anniversary of Tiananmen Square. He's gone to China. He's taught in China. He's got deep connections to China.
All right, cut it, Matt. So he got married on the anniversary of Tiananmen Square.
What a monster.
He got married on June 4th.
Yeah.
And basically, since most people get married in the summer and America's summer is in June, that you're just going to people like nice weather. There's basically a 1 in 7 chance that someone got married on the anniversary of Tiananmen Square. It's
first of all, I knew a lot of guys in college, Marcus. You think that's bad? These guys used to smoke weed on Hitler's birthday every year. Hitler's birthday.
Right.
For people who don't know, that's 420, which is also a big weed holiday. But I don't think people are. They've got in the South, people don't even take into account when the fucking Vols are playing when they schedule their their wedding. I really doubt they're taking into account like past international geopolitical tragedies or whatever, the anniversary of various disasters. I mean, not picking 9/11 as an American, that would be a little wild, but yeah, Tiananmen Square, I don't think anybody's thinking about it. Also, hell, get married on 9/11. That's fine. Make it about something else.
I'm absolutely positive a bunch of people get married every year on 9/11. It's probably because you probably get a discount because there's so little demand for the venues. Right?
That's thinking with your head. It's just smart.
Yeah. So you and I shared the same wedding anniversary, I think.
Yes.
Talking about people getting married in the summer, the different years, but June 21st, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So I looked up. We both got married. We both got married on the anniversary of the day John Hinckley got off for shooting Ronald Reagan for insanity. So that's pretty perfect.
Well, also, it's like the summer solstice or whatever, so it's like pagan devil worshiping day too. And it's not godly, so there's that upside also.
Yeah. So I looked up other people because like people keep track of like things, celebrity anniversary dates. It's pretty easy Google search. If you're wondering who else got married on the anniversary of Tiananmen Square. Or happened to be the same day. Billy Crystal, Howard Stern, Jamie Lee Curtis, B.B. King, Robin Williams, the Crocodile Hunter, James Cameron, and David Schwimmer. So this plot goes pretty deep, all right? But they're not going to let this go, and I think it's worth exploring why they think. Here's James Comer's on, the Congressman James Comer's on Jesse Waters' show earlier today.
China, and you know about China, Congressman. You did this when you looked into Hunter. When you go to China, they surveil you. If an American goes to China 30 times in the 90s, they have surveillance footage of him. They have surveillance footage probably of his honeymoon night. What kind of compromise is that? They were worried about Trump and a P-tape situation, that was all made up. This is serious business.
It's very serious. China thinks long term. It's very possible that China would be grooming an up-and-coming rising star in the political process to try.
Sorry. Was he even a teacher yet back there?
No.
He went over there to teach, didn't he? Or is that not? Either way, so you mean China handpicked a Midwestern party guy teacher in the 90s? Like, this guy's destined for the White House. It's not like it comes from a political dynasty or anything. That's some serious foresight on China's part if they figured that out.
If China really hacked American politics that well, they know us better than we know ourselves. It's sort of like how the Obama birth certificate conspiracy theory, which is coming back, by the way. Jesse Waters today on the 5 said they're sending an investigator to Hawaii to get to the bottom of Obama's birth certificate. So we're really at least replaying all the old hits. But yeah, so before we get to that, the reality of it, China thinks long term is inherently just a really funny thing to say in this context. We're they do, because they don't have to deal with this petty bullshit because they're authoritarian. They don't waste time having to deal with dumb scandals where Congress spends infinity hours investigating the psychotic stuff for partisan reasons. By the way, just yesterday, he released his 300-page report on how Joe Biden should be impeached. We all go that they still did that for some reason. But yeah, this is a preview of the next 2 years probably if Harris Walz wins and Republicans hold on to the House. So we're going to be sitting through all this. So if you guys wonder what the reality of it is, as Trey pointed out, he took his first. He taught in China in 1989, which when I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, I considered taking a job teaching English in South Korea.
Yeah, I knew people who did that. Yeah. Apparently, it pays pretty well. It's like a cool way to live in a different place, and
all you have to do, and all you have to know is how to speak English,
right?
And have a college degree. So I was like, okay, I meet those two qualifications. So in 1989, I was before he was either in the army and almost 2 decades before he was in Congress. He also led some school trips over there in the 90s, which is definitely it's how you recruit spies is with American high school teachers. And if their goal was to have an ally in the U.S. government somehow foresaw that Tim Walz would fit that bill, it was probably disappointed with his tenure in the House. I'm quoting here from the Washington Post. While there, the representative from Minnesota took public positions critical of China's approach to human rights. Because he'd been there and saw the surveillance and shit. But also China wasn't... The idea that they had high-tech surveillance in 1989 is not remotely true. China wasn't very rich in 1989, didn't have the great firewall of China going yet because the internet barely existed. So it's just
they couldn't just stick with the whole his tacos are weird thing. Like even them, they were like, we got to keep digging, we got to find something. So now they got the Chinese thing, and I know they got another thing that we'll get to a little bit later that they're zeroing in on as well.
You could write a psychological paper on why they're so fucking obsessed with Tim Walz, and I don't really have the bandwidth to get to the bottom of it. But I think
it's at least in part. I think they would do a version of it to anybody that Kamala picked, but also I think that part of it is it kind of drives them crazy how outwardly not attackable he seems to be. I don't know how else to put that, but the fact that it's like he just so in so many ways doesn't fit what they want evil villainous liberal to be like, you know what I mean? I think that just drives them nuts. So they're like, we got to find something,
He's a straight white Christian male,
right,
who's not them,
right,
and it bugs them. But all the oxygen they're using attacking Walz is energy. If I was advising them, I'd be like, you should be going after Kamala,
right?
That feels like more important if you want to win, and also more easier attack, considering again, if you're going to do this conspiratorial bullshit, her dad was a Marxist economist. Mm-hmm. That's right there for the taking. Anyway,
so he really was? Like, that's true? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I'd heard like Trump say that and stuff. I knew they were saying it, but I didn't know if that was overstated or not. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess there is that, but it's like with Kamala, it's like also I feel like they just like don't know how to do it without just being racist and misogynist or whatever, which they're fine with. But you gotta they still have to they can't just dive fully into the deep end of that publicly yet. Maybe they're saving that for later, but it's like they want to seem like that's not what they're doing, even though every cell in their body is telling them just to do that.
If you want to divide the Democratic coalition, which is what they should be doing, like I'm not going to do it right now, but I could give you the anti-Kamala pitch.
Right.
Like, it's having to do with the prosecution. She let Steve Mnuchin off, and she could have put him in prison. He ended up being Trump's the Treasury Secretary. That seems like something you'd want people. Anyway, fucking whatever.
Well, I was gonna say they can't do that because they love cops and law and order and all that shit ostensibly, but it's not like hypocrisy.
Right.
Blatant hypocrisy would be anything new for them. You know what I mean?
No, but what you do is you have like carve outs and bots make the argument online to where you get people that are ostensibly Democratic voters arguing with each other,
right,
leading into the convention. That's what you do, divide and conquer. You don't I wouldn't take sincerely Donald Trump laying that criticism, but I could see people arguing about it all the time and it being very annoying, and they're just not doing that. And thank you for not doing that, because I don't want Trump to win. So there you go.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about all the political theater going on at present.
Okay, so let's start with this. I fucking hate election years so much. They're just so miserable. It's it's so easy to forget when we do all this political theater about meaningless stuff like Tim Walz flying to China, or like JD Vance's like podcast appearances are like revelatory to me and like what he actually believes. But as far as like the weird messaging wars are going around, it's like easy to forget what the stakes of all this shit are. That like we're deciding who controls a nuclear arsenal that could blow up the world 5 times over. Right. And there's also the part where I do not want to live on the Snowpiercer train.
Yeah. Right. It would be generally preferable to avoid that. But the whole, I feel like everybody, except for the most ardent political junkies, I guess, most people get real sick of it during election years every time. But it's like, this time around, and we've talked about this before when it all first happened, but because of the nature of what happened on the Democrat side this time, like Kamala's only really like 3 weeks in, and it started in July or whatever, much later than it normally starts. And it would be nice if people took away the message from that. Like, we should just do that in the future. I'm sure they won't. There's too much money involved in all that shit. But that's part of why it sucks so bad, is because it starts a fucking more than a year in advance, and it's just incessant the whole time. It's like we're always in some kind of election cycle where there's super important midterms coming up or another general election or whatever. It's just always something. If we pared that down, made some laws or something where it's like you can only campaign for like 3 months before any election, I feel like it would just hit for everybody on all sides, except for the people involved.
It would. It probably makes it less democratic though, because it get like this. You can't stop the invisible primary from happening. Like, one of the reasons that a bunch of people were frustrated about like Hillary winning the nomination in 2016 is that she'd basically locked up precinct captains in New Hampshire for 2016 by like June of 2009. So like it's just like it was if you can't stop that stuff from happening, all you do is stop people from trying to like mount some sort of campaign that requires momentum. But yeah, I do prefer. I wish we lived in a world where that was possible. But instead, we have elections with these like world-ending stakes, where we get together and have these conventions where you get stuff like this. Here's what what was in like the free basket they gave to the Maryland delegation at the Democratic National Convention. Jamie Raskin's strong and sweet democracy mustard. What the fuck is that?
Greatly preferable to any kind of dictatorship mustard. Obviously. Yeah. What does that even mean? Also, it's like, so they just, how do you land on mustard? You said Maryland. If it was some kind of crab seasoning or something, I get they're not a mustard people, are they? In Maryland, they're not known for mustard. As far as
I'm not familiar. I'm not gonna venture outside my my wheelhouse to comment on Maryland mustards, but yeah. So like I get like this one of the things I think the Democrats are doing that's good is making it seem fun. Being fun draws donations and volunteers, and everybody wants to be on the winning fun side, all right? So it is good to have fun with it. But, like, I hate how this stuff turns everyone into, like, pundits and theater critics, and we're part of the problem, too.
Yeah,
yes, right.
That's what we do here, but yeah, no, I hear you.
Right. But it's also, since what they're doing is producing political theater, I guess it's worse than dissecting what they're trying to tell us as the citizens and voters of this country. Like, my sort of takeaway is that we're not going back thing is also a message to like DC pundits and the new Never Trump members and donors of the Democratic coalition who want to make the party theirs but pull it to the right. And so I think it's cool. We've only been through one night of this. We're mostly talking about night one of it. I think it's cool they gave a big chunk of the first night to AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Sean Fain. It's like it's not nothing, okay? Like here, AOC gave a pretty banging speech that got rave reviews, and here's her talking about being blue collar, which I think is important in the way she framed it. If you got this one.
Republicans have attacked me by saying that I should go back to bartending. But let me tell you, I'm happy to any day of the week because there is nothing wrong with working for a living.
As someone who's been up and down the economic ladder, working a bunch of different jobs in random orders, it has not been a consistent climb for me. I will tell you that the easiest jobs I've ever had paid the most. The only blue collar job I've ever gotten to take naps at, like I've had plenty well-paying jobs that I got to take naps at. The only blue collar job I got to take naps at was when I worked construction and be waiting for a load of stone. I would lay down on a pile of dirt in the shade and take a quick 15 minutes. All right. So I don't understand this thing where like people think blue collar people don't like it's like shameful work. There are much more shameful jobs in America than actually getting your hands dirty for a living.
For sure. It's that it's part of the irony. It's like a huge chunk of their base is like hardworking rural Americans and stuff, but at the top who hate coastal elites, but then the Republicans at the top are elitist about, people like AOC having a regular job for a while or whatever. But dude, I mean, she just like, don't nobody get them fired up like she does. I don't think like since Hillary probably like, she's like, she gonna get to Hillary. I mean, she already does, but like a lot of people on the left are like, oh, this is her. This is like Obama at the DNC in 2004 or whatever year that was. It's like put him on the map and started on the trajectory. This is her moment for that, and everybody on the left loves her and shit. But at the same time, the hate train is just going to continue to ratchet up so much for her. Like she really, really gets under their skin.
Right, and they go back to bartending thing. Like she went to BU. She's like she graduated like the honors or whatever. But she was working as a bartender when she campaigned for Congress. They literally would get on the floor of Congress and make jokes about she go back to bartending. I'm like, man. Fuck you, dude. Just as somebody who bartended, fuck you. It's a harder job. It's a much harder job than being a fucking dipshit congressman. So Jason Isbell played a song last night at the DNC, and I guess a bunch of people who are right wing watching it for the first time learned he's a lefty. I
feel like he's had so many different moments like this because I'm an Isbell fan and I know the guy a little bit. I love him. He's a great dude. And this has happened to him. This happens to him repeated. I don't know who these new people are that keep like finding out that they love his music and then later being disappointed to learn that, he's a commie lib or whatever. Because this shit, it feels like it happens to him every few months. I'll see him on Twitter. They're getting mad at him for being a leftist. And he always, he stands on business. He don't put up with it. He lets them know, but yeah.
Like, it's like the truckers have like 2 or 3 separate songs about how George Wallace is burning in hell. So I guess that like they just sing along to those songs without knowing who George Wallace is.
Right, but it's like, yes, I think that first of all, I don't, as a fan of his, I don't know how you could listen to Jason Isbell, just his music and not pick up on that. I've always thought the same thing for the drive-by truckers too. They've definitely dealt with that over the years. But then you think about how like, these people fucking rock out to Rage Against the Machine. Like Paul Ryan, that's his favorite band is Rage Against the Machine. They love, and then they get mad at Tom Morello, who, and it's literally called, it's like, I've heard people say before, it's like, what, did you think they were raging against a dishwasher? Like, what kind of machine did you think that the name was referencing? But that's just how, I don't know, how powerfully denial these people are about, because it's like they know the music that is made by them for them, they don't like it either. You know what I mean? Like, they got to force themselves to pretend they like Forgiato Blow or whatever, or they got to turn a blind eye to good musicians' politics. Right. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, I guess when Zach De La Rocha from Rage was like screaming about calling the Pentagon the five-sided fistagon, they were like, well, it's because fists are cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Sean Fain gave a speech last night, president of the Auto Workers Union, the UAW, and he did it in a Trump he came out wearing a sport coat, then said it's hot in here, took it off, and was wearing a Trump as a scab shirt. Hell yeah. Google Trends showed that searches for what a scab is went up like exponentially. So I guess we're teaching Americans a little bit of class war here. That's cool as shit. To which IATSE, the below the line showbiz union, posted this image of Trump, crossing an IATSE picket line in 2004 when they were on strike outside of The Apprentice. So yeah, we're teaching people what a scumbag Donald Trump is, a greedy guy who stiffs his workers. And tonight, by the way, before I hopped on, there were 25 retired Teamsters on stage talking about how Democrats saved Teamster pensions without one Republican vote, which is kind of a big fuck you to Sean O'Brien, who requested a speech there. The DNC told him to screw off because he spoke at the RNC, which is going to get him fired as president of his union probably. My favorite clip from last night was Raphael Warnock, and I want you to listen to what he says here, because a major American politician saying this at a major party convention is kind of astounding to me.
I need my neighbor's children to be okay so that my children will be okay. I need all of my neighbor's children to be okay. Poor inner city children in Atlanta and poor children of Appalachia. I need the poor children of Israel and the poor children of Gaza. I need Israelis and Palestinians. I need those in the Congo, those in Haiti, those in Ukraine. I need American children on both sides of the track to be okay. Because we are all God's children.
All right, so that's the kind of thing that would get the CIA to overthrow a South American politician if they said that out loud back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Literally, you would just say, if you just said land reform outside as the president of Brazil, it'd be like 1 week later, SpongeBob meme, the person's been overthrown by a military coup. And so, it's sort of like one of those things. I'm not a naive baby. I understand that part of what's happening is the DNC trying to co-opt the left in a time of extreme populist anger, right? But the party's not saying we're democratic socialists. They're just saying there's room for it in the party, which is a huge leap for American politics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on this a little bit for me? Because I'd be dumb and stuff. Mm-hmm. Why is it just because of the specific places he named? He says both Israel and Gaza and Ukraine and all this stuff. Because to me, it feels like, because he specifies children, and to me, it seems like one of those sentiments that's like, I think children everywhere should be fed and safe, is like something that no one on earth would dare outwardly have a problem with. And then the Republicans turn around and make school lunches, free school lunches illegal and shit. I get that. But like saying it seems like it should be fine with anybody. So
right. It's framed in terms of children because everyone likes children, but it's like an inch from saying workers of the world unite. Okay. Like the idea that you should care about other people's children is not something that the American politics, especially in the context of some of those children being at this very moment being killed with American supplied bombs. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And even talking about the Congo, American companies are paying militias in Africa to do coups so they can extract lithium from mines to build electric cars. All right. Yeah. So the idea that American business interests heard it the same way that I heard it, okay. Which is as holy shit, somebody somewhere is coming for us, and you know what I'm saying. So the fact that he was allowed to give that speech in that way felt different to me. Maybe I'm absolutely wrong. Again, I'm trying not to be a naive baby about American politics here, but something interesting is happening here. This was a night for working people to be angry on behalf of the downtrodden.
It does feel like something's interesting is happening here. It has felt like that for a while. I mean, ever since this particular campaign started and Tim Walz came on the scene and all that, it does feel. I mean, we said on a previous episode, it's like it just finally feels like they're like listening to their actual constituents or the bulk of people on the left instead of the consultants and the suits and shit. Who and donors and stuff, which is what it's always felt like they've done in the past, the Democratic Party. Like they just do what those people say instead of what the people actually want them to do. That's always been one of those maddening things about them. And lately, it could end up being all lip service, but lately it don't feel like that at present. It feels like they've changed that, which is nice.
I guarantee you consultants were pulling everything. A lot of stuff that happened last night, there were a bunch of consultants working their ass off to stop it, right? That's part of what I consider refreshing is I know I can sort of read tea leaves, the forces behind the scenes, what they were pushing for, and we'll get to this in a little bit in a second. So who else is doing theater criticism about last night's night one of the DNC was the right. Let's watch this clip of Steve Kerr, and I'll tell you what people were saying about it.
And after the results are tallied that night, we can, in the words of the great Steph Curry, we can tell Donald Trump, night, night. Thank you.
All right. So we'll get to what he was doing there if you don't follow sports. Steve Kerr is the coach of the Golden State Warriors. All right. That's his current job.
Yes, who Steph Curry plays for.
Yes, and he was the night thing is one of Steph's signature celebrations.
Yes.
When he hits a game-winning shot or a shot that puts the game away, it's like about put this game to bed or go to sleep, bitch, depending on how mean you want to interpret it. And he's done it to my team, the Dallas Mavericks, many, many times, and I wish we'd pass a law to make him stop. Sure. All right. So
too, been on the receiving end of that many times. Every other team has pretty much. But yeah, what are they saying about this, Mark?
Oh, well, but remember when Trump was almost killed a couple weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
They're saying, a bunch of people online were saying that this is a coded message that we should finish the job and kill Donald Trump. Let me quote here from Alex Jones. Let me try my Alex Jones impression. Did Steve Kerr make a veiled assassination threat to Trump? All right. My Alex Jones is pretty good. It's one impression I can do. So,
but
Steve
that
Kerr,
was him. A veiled assassination threat was this. So it's like I can't believe Steph Curry threatened to kill all those Frenchmen just a couple weeks ago at the Olympics in Paris too. In Paris, he outright threatened to kill them all on their own home soil. So
4 3-pointers in the last 2 minutes or whatever. I remember I sent you guys the French announcers being like the devil named Curry is killing us. It was great. So Steve Kerr's life story, if anybody cares, his entree into politics besides being the coach of Team USA basketball, when his dad was the president of American University in Beirut. When Steve was 18, his dad was killed. His dad Malcolm was killed by Islamic Jihad
I didn't know that.
Beirut. Yeah. His dad's from Lebanon. He spent a lot of time living overseas. His grandfather did a lot of stuff to help survivors of the Armenian genocide. His family's been involved in international politics for a long time. He just happens to coach basketball. I guess he couldn't. He's like, I could go into the foreign service, but instead I'll be Michael Jordan's teammate. That seems like more fun.
Mm-hmm. Although Jordan did punch him in the face that time, but still probably more fun. Got all the championships, shot all them 3-pointers, had a pretty good time with it.
Do you know something I learned today that I found mind blowing? That the morning of September 11th, the big news was that Michael Jordan had just announced he was returning to basketball to play for the Washington Wizards. It would probably take some pretty big news to bump that off the front page, don't you think, Trey?
It's like who was it? I don't want to get it wrong. Who was the very famous actress that died the same morning that Michael Jackson then died that afternoon? Do you know what I'm talking about? See, no. you don't remember. It's like, but it would have been. Again, it's somebody you've heard of. I'm gonna look it up. You go ahead.
Okay. So let's talk about things changing and people not quite. There are a bunch of people who don't quite grasp it. It's not just the Democratic consultants and pundits or whatever. It's also like the mainstream. When we complain about media on here, I'm not talking about general everyday working reporters. I'm talking about the Washington Press Corps who cover politics for a living, making them some of the most brain dead people on the planet. All right. Here's some fact checking of night one that came out today. This is just one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. This is a fact check of, I think, of Biden's speech. quote, she quotes Biden saying, Donald Trump says he refused to accept the election result if he loses again, Biden said. But that's not true. Trump just hasn't said that he would accept. And he has previously said the only way he loses is if the Democrats cheat. What the fuck are you saying right now?
Yeah, right. I mean, what else is any of that supposed to mean? Like, if
it's meaningless.
He's been pressed repeatedly to say whether he would accept it, and he won't say that. And like you said, he says the only way he can lose is if the Democrats cheat. And it's like, what other message is he trying to send there, other than like any professed loss for me is unacceptable, and we all have to treat it as such, and try another goddamn coup. By the way, real quick, it was Farrah Fawcett, and I thought that's who it was, but I don't want to get it wrong. Farrah Fawcett died the same day Michael Jackson did. Anyway, go ahead.
R.I.P. Farrah Fawcett. I remember. I'll never forget where I was when I found out Michael Jackson died. By the way, I was riding in a car to a gig with another comic who read the news on his phone, and I related to me. He says, I guess Prince won." So that was really hitting way to find out Michael Jackson died.
I was downtown Knoxville with a bunch of friends of mine, but I don't remember why. I think maybe we were going to they used to have street concerts in Knoxville Market Square. I think I was going to one of those. Don't remember who was playing or nothing though, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. The thing about like this level of fact checking right here, one, like the candidates, the candidate for the other party is one of the biggest liars in the history of the world. That's even when you can diagram his sentence to figure out what the fuck he's talking about. And when you apply this level of scrutiny to like any particular sentence, like I'm not aware of any normal sentence that could withstand this level of fact checking.
Right.
This is like saying like, "Hey Mark, where's your wife at?" "Oh, she went to the store." And like fact check, he said the store. There's actually more than one store, so he needs to be more. Like, what the fuck are you even talking about, dude? It's like this. It's so bizarre. Here's another one. All right, this is a quote from Hillary. They fact checked. She, meaning Kamala Harris, won't be sending love letters to dictators. There is no evidence that Trump sent such letters. Clinton is making a bit of a leap to suggest that Trump has written love letters to dictators. Clinton appears to be referring to a 2018 comment from Trump about North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. "We fell in love, okay? No, really, he wrote me beautiful letters, and they're great letters. We fell in love." How is that fact check untrue?
Right. Yes. It's just clearly like it doesn't have to mean literally like handwriting and posting and mailing love letters to dictators. It clearly is referencing his explicit preference for the the conduct and personality of dictators. He's a big fan of famous dictators worldwide, and he slobs them, glazes them. Those are both things.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a larger truth beyond the mere meaning of the words is the point, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And like
it's clearly what she meant, and what she meant holds true. But if you just get into the breaking down the literal, wording, then you can pick it apart. But why? It's like, to what end?
Right. When the other candidates are explicitly saying they're going to do the opposite, they're obviously going to do when they're in office.
Right.
It's like, what the fuck are we even doing here? Here's another one. They're trying, like JD's already trying to make the meal out of this when it comes to Walz. Here's another weird fact check. The New York Times today: Walz family fertility journey ran not through IVF, but another common treatment. Okay. So the gotcha here is that there's a bunch of different fertility treatments, and the one that Walz ended up his family ended up being successful with didn't necessarily rise to the level of IVF because this one worked first.
Right.
And the one he got would not technically be illegal under an IVF ban because they don't freeze and destroy embryos. All right.
Yeah. IUI, right? Intrauterine insemination or whatever, which is like
something like that.
But like you said, there's no embryos involved. So they're like, well, pro-life people, we have no problem with that, and so that's what makes this different. But it's like, they couldn't have kids for a long time. They had to employ the help of specialists in the medical field to do this type of thing to be able to have kids. And they went through a long and arduous and I'm sure very expensive process, all of which I think most people feel falls under the general umbrella of, IVF treatments or clinics or whatever. But like technically very, at the end of the day, he didn't have actual IVF, but it's like, it still doesn't mean that he was lying about what had happened or whatever,
their fact check said they spent 7 years trying to have kids, right? And here, like way deep in this story, Here's the but, right? But for people having trouble getting pregnant, the procedures are often linked. Some patients say they're, quote, doing IVF as a catch-all phrase for a wide range of fertility treatments.
Right.
It's like, yes.
Exactly.
You're saying he's talking like a normal person about a normal person's concerns, and you're fact-checking like between the lines like some dumb bullshit? It's crazy.
Kind of like how when I meet someone in California who has no familiarity with Tennessee or whatever, oftentimes, or if I'm wearing a Tennessee shirt or something, and they ask me like, "Where are you from in Tennessee?" A lot of times I'll just say like, "Oh, I'm from Knoxville or whatever," because I moved here from. But I'm not. I'm from Salina. But I know that they don't fucking know what Salina is or what any of that means. So it's just simpler to just say I'm from Knoxville because they have heard of that. And I feel like this is a similar type of thing. If he was saying it's like, "Yeah, we had IUI to get," a lot of people may not know it. I mean, I wouldn't have known what that means before this, but we've all heard of IVF.
Yes.
Like you said, it's under the umbrella of doing IVF. It's not.
You go to the same clinic with the same doctor. Yeah, they're trying to leave this vague impression that he's a huge liar over fucking nothing. Right. And like, so these people are just getting left behind, and they're frustrated with it. Like, I feel like I'm talking about the mainstream political press who covers Washington like they're Veep cast members, and like the consultants who make up the other half of Veep cast members. Like this, CNN had this story today, a couple of days ago, called "Inside the Fast-Moving Launch of Kamala Harris for President," and there was some pretty telling anecdotes in here. Basically, they had a big conference call where a bunch of veteran Democratic pollsters, including a guy named Jeff Garin, summarized their analysis, and they asked her to stop saying, quote, "We're not going back," because it wasn't focused enough on the future. I don't understand how "we're not going back" isn't focused on the future, but whatever. Right. They also said to lay off the weird talk because it's too negative. All right.
Both of those things, I feel like, from my perspective, were like absolute home runs. Like I feel like most of the responses that I saw from both of those things on Reddit and for just social media in general was like overwhelmingly positive. Right. It was like, oh, this is great. And then so to hear that they're like picking that apart is
But you and I are familiar with the process where someone has a job where their job is to give notes.
They got to justify their existence, so they got to come up with some. They have to give some kind of note.
So if his job is to tell you got to give me $100,000 to tell me what you're doing wrong, I've got to come up with something you're doing wrong. And it's got to be the two main things you're doing right now. All right. Right. But Kamala, luckily, is smarter than them. She said she wasn't going to. She was going to listen to her own political instincts that have been buried into self-doubt for so long, and she wasn't going to listen to the pollsters. All right. So why would you want to? Let's watch this video of Trump for a second. Why would you want to deprive yourself of content like this? This dude looking weak and stupid.
Yeah. Price controls. Kamala has no idea what the hell she's doing. Her father is a Marxist professor, and I believe he taught her well. You know, he's a Marxist professor. Can you imagine?
This isn't the right
Does
clip,
anyone
Matt.
know that?
No, I think it is.
Is it? Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
It is.
Did an overthrow or a coup on Joe Biden. I wonder if they knew where she comes from, where she came from, what her ideology is. But you could see it a little bit by this whack job. You know, he said, "We're weird." That JD and I are weird. I think we're extremely normal people. Like you, exactly like he's weird.
You can tell it fucking bothers him, which means that, like, you're doing something right. Like, that's how you know.
Right. There was a story yesterday that was going viral for the wrong reasons. Like, so JD, like, people misinterpreted what JD was doing. He went to Pat's Cheesesteaks in Philadelphia and tried to order a cheesesteak with Swiss cheese, which is like going to Texas and trying to order chili with beans in it. All right. It's a thing every politician is coached not to do. Swiss cheese is like the enemy of cheesesteaks for some reason. Provolone's fine, but Swiss is a no-go.
Or a whiz, right? You get cheese whiz, or yes, I guess they can handle provolone, but yeah.
Even Swiss. Provolone's mildly controversial, is my understanding, but like cheese whiz.
I mean, I go with cheese whiz. That's what I do. I like it that way.
Right. Anyway. So this is going viral. Like people making jokes like, "Oh, they just lost Pennsylvania," yada yada yada. But what JD's doing is even weirder than that. Like, it's not that he's just out of touch with regular people who eat cheesesteaks. He was referencing a mini scandal from 2004 where John Kerry went to Pat's and tried to order a cheesesteak with Swiss cheese on it and got dinged for being out of touch.
Are you kidding me? This was a reference to a 20-year-old gaffe by John Kerry,
which is even weirder. I remember that, but I'm smart enough to not talk about it at parties because no one wants to fucking talk to me about shit like that.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So like this is he's being weird in the same way that I'm weird here. So my heart goes out to him, except I'm smart enough to shut the fuck up, right? So their bizarre framing helps in other ways. Like, so Trump gave a big crime speech today, and he chose Howell, Michigan for it, which is a town mostly known for being the Michigan headquarters for the KKK. All right, choosing this feels intentional. Mm-hmm. Now, Kamala did roast him for it. As an aside, it got the Hill framed it as like going after him for race, but like hanging out with a racist is fucking weird. Mm-hmm. Picking this town for this reason is fucking bizarre. In a country where the rest of us, Kamala's in an interracial marriage, we'll have friends in interracial marriages with mixed race kids, just like being hung up on this shit from 100 years ago is stupid. And like just a month ago in Howell, a dozen white supremacists walked through the streets chanting Heil Hitler and carrying signs reading White Lives Matter as they marched through downtown. Another group of demonstrators shouted, "We love Hitler, we love Trump," from a highway overpass outside Howell. All right, so like running as a black woman for president of the United States is a thin, narrow to thread. And like when you complain about racism, complaining is the wrong word for it. When you point out racism, it often gets like run through the lens of like loser, whiny behavior. All right.
Yeah. Playing the race card. Well, no, I guess not
right.
Really that, but yeah, yes.
Yeah. So pointing out these motherfuckers are just old school, out of touch is like a much better lens to see it through. I think from the point of trying to win an election. So anyway, whoever told her to lose the weird thing is a goddamn moron, and should be like, these people should not work in professional politics anymore. They should have to go get real jobs. All right, which is like a lot of our analysis of what's going on at the various conventions, what's going on in the presidential election right now, are being filtered through some of the most brain-dead, old-school thinking people in the world. And I read this piece this morning in the New Republic called "Beware the Pundit Brain Version of the Democratic Convention." It talked about how badly these people, talking about the Dem pollsters, the centrist pundits, and the mainstream press, political press, how badly they want their little old world back, one where Republican operatives dressed as cable news pundits can shape the decision-making of the Democratic Party. Quote, sensible Democratic leaders are the ones who tack to the right to win over voters and politicians who can never fucking be won. Yes, thank you for saying it out loud.
Right. Yeah, just so it's like the whole, like, again, I bring him up every time this subject even gets broached, but I remember when Phil Bredesen ran against Marsha Blackburn, and he did that old school Democrat thing of like trying to appeal to everybody, trying to like, tilt to the right and get the moderates and all that shit, and he got absolutely dog walked, and it's like that just shit just don't work. All you do is just piss everybody off. I feel like
right.
It doesn't work. But
yeah. So the best course is always is to ignore all these motherfuckers, right? And I wish they'd do an immigration cop stuff to it. Hopefully we'll eventually get there, but I guess one step at a time. And I guess like I wanted to mention this because another example of Washington media actually making us dumber. I read this framing of like Kamala's like economic issues or whatever last week that I thought was like pretty much malpractice. It's a Politico article. The headline was "Inflation's easing. Now Harris has an even bigger problem with the economy." That bigger problem is that, quote, the labor market is cooling, more Americans are skipping credit cards and auto loan payments, delinquency expectations, which reflect the likelihood of a missed minimum payment on outstanding debt, are at the highest level since the peak of COVID-19 lockdowns. She's talking about two effects while ignoring any of the causes here. The cause of the labor market cooling is all the stuff the Fed did to fight inflation.
Right.
The whole point of raising interest rates was to constrain the money supply so employers would have less money to pay workers.
Right.
They gave you what you guys agitated for a fucking year, and now you're complaining about like the real world requires trade-offs. You're not explaining the trade-offs to voters.
Right. You're just saying the bad part.
Right. It's like the trade-off was: would you rather have a raise and also pay 4% more for groceries, or would you rather pay 4% less for groceries and not get a raise? But it wasn't conveyed to people that way. It was conveyed to people and now people are going to miss credit card payments because a bunch of people lost their jobs because we had to fight inflation. I just fucking I wish they'd do a better job making people that their choices are clear. Anyway, let's wrap up by talking about the circus outside the DNC.
I've been waiting on this clip. I couldn't. I saw this clip last night and I couldn't get over it. Yes.
Right. Here's Jack.
How do you say this guy's name?
Pacific, right-wing agitator Jack Pacific, who tried to go undercover by wearing a keffiyeh over his face to interview, but pretend to be a lib to get them to say outrageous shit. But everyone recognizes him because they also have internet access and know who the fuck he is. So he got called out immediately, and everyone ran around and told people who he was. He couldn't get the content he wanted. Instead, he sort of got what he wanted with this. Okay.
How many abortions have you had? How many abortions have you had? How many abortions have you had today?
DNC. I'm getting paid by George Soros to have an abortion on the stage with no drugs.
Which way are you going? Which way are you going?
What do you mean, which way?
Which type of abortion?
What kind of abortions are there, Jack?
There's pills, there's tools, there's a number of ways.
So this it still went viral. She's obviously fucking kidding, but because Laura Loomer had... Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, she couldn't be more clearly being sarcastic and basically mocking this guy to his face. How many abortions have you had? It's like, yeah, you know what? George Soros is paying me to have one live on stage in front of everybody today.
Yes.
And it's like, it could not be more obvious what she's doing there. And she's hitting for me, by the way. But yes, it got picked up and people were just like plain-faced sharing it and being like, this is what the Democratic Party is. This is what's happening.
Right.
Like, this woman admits she's shameless. She admits on camera that George Soros is paying her to have an abortion, and they want us to believe that they have the country's best interest at heart, and I just can't believe how stupid.
And when it doesn't happen live on stage, the DNC, they'll say it's because they caught him.
They found it. Yeah, they found it out.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And
it's
so
totally
and she was referencing a rumor on right-wing internet. She's making fun of them to their face about the dumb shit they believe, and they take it and go, see? Right. Anyway, it's all so stupid.
It's so stupid.
What I've been worried about at the convention in Chicago was, there are protests going on outside relating to Gaza and stuff, and there were posts on Chicago police message boards talking about how they couldn't wait to crack heads of Gaza protesters because they knew it would cause dissension and make the Democrats look bad. They were really amped up to do some violence, but way fewer protesters showed up than people were anticipating. I saw an interview with a woman who showed up to the Gaza protest with a sign that said, "I hate effing N-words," with some other slurs on it, and a sincere protester was there. You understand how this makes the rest of us look bad? And she's like, "Oh, I don't give a fuck about you guys or Gazans. I just hate Israel." She's just an anti-Semite. And
you said her sign says, "I hate effing N-words"?
Yes.
But it's because she hates Israel?
She had other anti-Jewish slogans on there too. She had a big sign with a bunch of shit written on it. One of them, but at the top was, I hate effing N-words. All right.
Okay, gotcha.
But the reason I get mad about people getting backlash against protesting is you've got to understand there's a bunch of weird people doing dumb shit there on purpose, and everyone has their own little agenda. And so, anyway, we won't get into it for a second on this occasion. But yeah, does everyone just be a little smarter about your media literacy when someone's you see an outtake from a protest from somebody who you might want to consider whether they're there to make the protest look bad, because people do that. Who else was there was Cornel West, who he was at the March to DNC rally, which is also kind of about Gaza and just not liking Democrats in general. I'd forgotten he's running for president.
Yeah.
He's not actually running for president, but a bunch of Republicans are running him for president. He's not really doing anything. His campaign has negative $17,000. I don't even know how he afforded to fly to Chicago. But so there's a scramble right now. Republicans are fighting their ass off. Well, they were. I think they failed to try to get him on the Arizona ballot. Basically, you need electors to get on a ballot, and people need to sign up for that. And one guy changed his mind that he didn't want to be an elector anymore after Kamala became the candidate because he was satisfied with her over Biden. And another woman, his name was Jerry Jeudy, not the NFL wide receiver. And another woman also backed out. Her name is Tanisha Mitchell. We'll get to her for a second. Her story is actually more interesting. And so West was asked about it and said, quote, "So much of American politics is highly gangster-like activity. I have no knowledge of who they are or anything, none whatsoever. We just want to get on that ballot, and that's the difficult thing." So he has no idea who the people are trying to get on the Arizona ballot. There's no one knows if the Trump campaign is directly involved, but it's definitely a bunch of Republican lawyers. And going back to Tanisha Mitchell for a second, when she found out she was an elector, she was like, "Wait, I didn't sign anything." Her response was, "What is an elector?" Someone just forged her fucking signature on a form. And, quote, "I was shocked and surprised by it all. I don't even know what an elector was," she told the AP. "The crazy thing is that it was all forged. None of it was my handwriting. It was definitely not my signature. My email was wrong. My address was wrong." But her story is not the only unusual one among the slate of electors for West. One of them, Elizabeth Rothgeb, pleaded guilty to manslaughter after accepting a plea deal stemming from the killing of her then husband with an axe in 1998. She spent 10 years in prison and was released on Christmas Eve 2010.
Inspired, no doubt, by the seminal Mike Myers classic, So I Married an Axe Murderer from the mid-90s.
And this axe murderer, by the way. This axe murderer who they recruited, this little axe murderer they recruited to be an elector for Cornell West, also happens to be a registered Republican. There's so much fuckery going on all around us right now. I kind of don't even know how to make sense of it. But yeah, Cornell West, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Spend your whole life as a left-wing activist and speaker, college professor, and you're going to be remembered as a guy whose main thing was trying to stop America's first black woman president from getting elected, so you could run around doing scams to get 12 voters in Arizona that hopefully enough to swing the election. This is very fucking bizarre shit going on.
Truly odd. Well, we'll see what happens the rest of this week at the DNC, and then we'll catch y'all up next week and whatever other insanity happens to pass us by in the interim. But thank y'all for watching. Listen, again, go to TreyCrowder.com and check out my upcoming tour dates. Come and see me in the Midwest this week, San Antonio after that. And then on from there, check out me and Corey's book, Round Here and Over Yonder. Again, it's going to be for sale on Barnes & Noble's website soon. And support this show on Patreon, weeklyskews.com/more, or search for my name on Patreon. $5 a month, get full-length bonus episodes. As long as you keep watching these on Skews, we'll keep making them. We love you like chicken. See you. Bye.
Skew.